Evening, everyone. Jacob has asked me to give this reading. It's entitled Introduction to the Holocaust. The word Holocaust is derived from the Greek holocauston. It's a translation of the Hebrew word olah, meaning a burnt sacrifice offered whole to God. This word was chosen because of the ultimate manifestation of the Nazi killing program. So what's the difference between Holocaust and Shoah? Holocaust is the English term and Shoah is the Hebrew term. And they're used to describe the genocide perpetrated by Nazi Germany during World War II. Both terms have a theological or cosmic dimension. Holocaust is derived from the Greek for burnt offering and is generally defined as a vast destruction caused by fire or other non-human forces. Shoah, meanwhile, has its biblical root in the term Shoah U Meshoah, which means wasteness and desolation. These terms appear in both the book of Zephaniah and the book of Job. In the United States and Britain, Holocaust is the more usual term, while in continental Europe, the term Shoah has proved more resonant. Thank you.
Why is Holocaust Memorial Day on 27th of January? The date was chosen because on 27th of January 1945, the former Nazi concentration camp Auschwitz-Birkenau was liberated by the Soviet Union. The Holocaust, the Shoah in Hebrew, was the systematic attempt by the Nazis and their collaborators to murder all the Jews in Europe. From the time they assumed power in Germany in 1933, the Nazis used propaganda, persecution, and legislation to deny human and civil rights to German Jews. They used centuries of anti-Semitism as their foundation. With the outbreak of World War II, Germany invaded Poland, subjecting around 2 million Polish Jews to violence and forced labor. Thousands of Jews were murdered in the first months of the occupation. Shortly after the occupation, Polish Jews were confined to particular neighborhoods that came to be known as ghettos. Living conditions in these ghettos were appalling, a deliberate attempt by the Nazis to cause the death of hundreds of thousands of Jews. This approach was repeated across Eastern Europe and other countries by the Nazis. In 1942, the systematic murder of Europe's Jews began a plan known by the Nazis as the final solution to the Jewish problem. Death squads called Einsatzgruppen swept Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, killing Jews by firing squad. By the end of 1941, the first extermination camp, Chełmno, in Poland had been established, giving the Nazis their method to continue murdering on a giant scale between 1941 and 1945. By the end of the Holocaust, 6 million Jewish men, women, and children had been murdered in ghettos, mass shootings, in concentration camps, and extermination camps. We must surely ensure that every young person learns and internalizes the lessons of the Holocaust. May we be blessed as we honor the victims and the survivors with a world of peace.
I'm humbled to be invited by Jacob and the team to give this reading in honour of amazing survivors like Dorrit, and also for peace. Keeping alive our survivors' legacy. In 1935, the notion that the Jews were a subhuman species who were not worthy of the same fundamental rights as Aryan Germans became law. 80 years ago, 15 high-ranking but low-life officials of the Third Reich devised what became known as the final solution for the senseless, in their words, annihilation of the Jewish people. By 1942, the killing machine of the Nazis had become so sophisticated and efficient in the darkest of ways that some 15,000 Jews, 15,000 human beings, were being murdered every single day. In 1945, British soldiers and journalists entered into Bergen-Belsen concentration camp and broke down when they witnessed what had transpired during the Holocaust. In 1948, the United Nations adopted the Genocide Convention, pledging that the horrors of the Holocaust would never happen again. And the world too often forgets that pledge, and countless people across our planet, countless brothers and sisters, continue to be murdered, whether in Bosnia, in Darfur, in Cambodia, in Rwanda, and to name just a few. But there are more, whether it's the Uyghurs and the Ukrainians. When exactly will the world recognize that all hatred is to create further hatred? Today, we've got to reach out with compassion to guarantee the rights and the future of the Rohingya people, the Uyghur people, and many others threatened by disastrous genocide. From today, if not already, we must honour our pledge to our most wonderful survivors to guarantee that we, beyond their lifespan, will continue where they left off and keep their legacy alive. It is not on them, it is on all of us. For life is what's at stake here, the very essence of it. We've got to ensure that every young person learns and internalizes the lessons of the Holocaust, and that we may be blessed to honour its victims and survivors with a world of peace. Thank you.
Where is God? By Eli Wiesel. Eli was a Romanian-born American writer, professor, political activist, Nobel laureate, and Holocaust survivor. He authored 57 books, including Night, a work based on his experiences as a Jewish prisoner in the Auschwitz and Birkenau concentration camps. The following is an extract from Night. I swore never to be silent whenever, wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. For the survivor who chooses to testify, it is clear that his duty is to bear witness for the dead and for the living. He has no right to deprive future generations of a past that belongs to our collective memory. To forget would not only be dangerous, but offensive. To forget the dead would be akin to killing them for a second time. Where is God? Where is he? Someone behind me asked. At a sign from the head of the camp, the 3 chairs tipped over. Total silence throughout the camp. On the horizon, the sun was setting. The 2 adults were no longer alive, but the 3rd rope was still moving. Being so light, the child was still alive. For more than half an hour, he stayed there, struggling between life and death, dying in slow agony under our eyes. Behind me, I heard the same man asking, Where is God now? And I heard a voice within me answer him. Where is he? Here he is. Here he is, hanging here on the gallows. It is precisely because Auschwitz has made the world a desperate place that a Jew is forbidden to despair of it.
Auschwitz from the air. Where was Auschwitz and why was it created? Auschwitz was in southern Poland, just over 30 miles west of Krakow. It was in an area of Poland that the Germans decided to incorporate into the Reich. As part of this process of Germanization, they wanted ethnic Germans to populate the area. But because this was a heavily industrialized part of Poland, the major manufacturing centre of Katowice is less than 20 miles to the northwest. The Germans needed substantial numbers of Poles to remain in order to work in the factories and coal mines. The original concentration camp at Auschwitz was designed to strike terror into the hearts of those indigenous Poles. If they caused any trouble for the Germans, or even looked as if they caused any trouble for the Germans, or even looked as if they might probably cause trouble for the Germans, then they risked being shipped to Auschwitz. The first prisoners arrived in June 1940, and until well into 1942, the vast majority of inmates at the camp were Polish political prisoners. Though this was not yet a place of mass extermination, huge numbers of these Poles perished in the camp from various kinds of ill treatment, including starvation, beatings, and execution. So much so that more than half of the 23,000 Poles first sent to Auschwitz were dead within 20 months. Why was it called Auschwitz? It was called Auschwitz because that was the German name for the Polish town of Ostwiecim, where the camp was built. The original camp, the main camp, was established in a group of buildings that had been Polish army barracks around a horse-breaking yard, not far from the centre of Ostwiecim, along the bank of the Sola River.
A tribute to the late Queen. Holocaust awareness was amongst the many legacies we have from our late Queen. During World War II, she spent time out and about helping ordinary British people, appreciating the actions of others, spurring resilience against the enemy. She had a heartfelt respect for all affected by the terror of war. She recognised the need to call the nation to prayer, seen by her father, King George VI, and she saw miracles in many aspects of Britain's victory alongside our allies in the defeat of Nazism and the liberation of the camps in Europe. Despite the fact that the Foreign Office never arranged a visit to Israel for her in her long reign, she showed ceaseless and constant support of Holocaust remembrance and education over decades. In 2005, she hosted a remarkable reception of Holocaust survivors and veterans in St James's Palace. She also visited Bergen-Belsen to mark the 70th anniversary of its liberation by British troops. As head of state, the late Queen also championed British Jews and celebrated their contribution to the United Kingdom. They prayed for her each week. Prince Philip and Prince Charles did visit Israel and were keen to fully grasp the impact of Princess Alice, Philip's mother, who sheltered Jews at her home in Athens during the Holocaust. She was later designated righteous in the nations, and Prince Philip was able to attend the ceremony. Prince William and his wife Catherine have made high-profile visits to key sites and established good friendships with some of the elderly Holocaust survivors, particularly in the United Kingdom. They have also used social media to heighten awareness and to honour those affected, even today, by the atrocities of Nazi persecution and the horrors of the Holocaust. Let's pray for the legacy of our late Queen in the lives of the royal family, in faith, in working towards greater awareness in society, and for support of the Jewish community to increase year upon year, so that anti-Semitism is called out and significantly reduced in the streets, universities, establishments, and the attitudes of our nation.